Welcome back, Washington, D.C. Metro, to Real Estate Radio. And I'm joined today by Louis Cammarosano, the general manager of HomeGain, and Mitch Ribak, who is the broker of Tropical Realty of Suntree. Real Estate Radio is designed to build the Washington, D.C. Metro's market by giving you good free advice. If you ever have any questions, concerns, or real estate needs, the best number to reach out to us is 877-245-2030. That's 877-245-2030. So, guys, I just wanted to tell you a quick little story that I have going on right now. Maybe I'm sure you can relate, Mitch. I've been working with this buyer for probably about 7 months, and it all started with a short sale that an agent had said was basically already fully pre-approved by the bank, was ready to go.
We love those.
Right, at said price. Let's just call the price $250,000, and I can't tell you how many times they've now come back to her and say, oh, well, it was on the seller's end. They didn't have a document in there. So although it was pre-approved the whole time, everything was in there. And from the buyer's perspective, I've been working with her. And I said, look, I told you from the beginning, these are very frustrating and you have to just kind of stick with it if you want it. If not, you got to look at a foreclosure or look at a normal sale. And as time's progressed, this is all the way back in from November where we had interest rates at the lows of somewhere near 4%. And now we're going into March, and still nothing's happened. And I believe that the agent on this particular one had told me at this point that they're expecting something this week. But they say that every single week just because they don't know. And the comment in this particular case was that, well, once it goes into the investor, we no longer we just have to wait for them to give us a response back. Well, I thought it was already approved with the investor to begin with.
Right.
So, my big hang-up is, she just feels like she's lost, so much time. She's lost her interest rate, so the cost of her loan is now a lot more. And her frustration is just, at an all-time high now. And I'm trying to really just say, hey, interest rates are still really great right now. What would be your advice to somebody right now that's, really just having a hard time in their specific price range, finding a sale that they can get, done in a 30 to 45-day window?
Right. Well, it's funny. We just had a training session in my office last week. I train my agents every other week. We have training sessions, and it was on how your approach was to the consumer.
Right.
Meaning, remember, consumers hear what they want to hear. Okay, so you may tell them everything bad about a short sale, but what we found is all in the words that you say to them. For instance, if you say to them it takes 4 to 6 months to get approved, then in their mind, all right, I'm going to get approved.
Right.
Okay. So what we've been saying now is it takes 4 to 6 months to find out you didn't get approved. And it seems to be working because there are plenty of homes that aren't short sales that are good deals. Especially
Absolutely.
here. Like I said, a third of the market's short sales, but 66% of the market's not. And so we've been taking that approach because, frankly, from a brokerage standpoint, short sales are killing us.
Yeah.
We have, like I said, 75 to 80 of them on the board right now, which means probably zero cash flow where there should be $300,000 cash flow.
Right.
As a business standpoint. From the consumer standpoint, they're not going to get the house 75% of the time. And they're going to be stressed. They're going to be angry at you, the realtor. They blame you, the buyer's agent, whether we like it or not. They sit there and say, well, it's your fault because you didn't push it through for me. You weren't aggressive enough. You didn't fight for me. We have no control. You know that. All we can do is call the listing agent. We have no right to talk to their bank.
Yeah.
So we're stuck. So the advice we're giving our buyers is pretty straightforward. It's, we can do this for you. We will not hear anything for a minimum of 2 months. And the chances are by the time the 4 to 6 months is up, you're going to either walk away, the bank's going to say no, or the seller's going to refuse to hold the note. We're seeing that more and more these days. We had 2 today, actually, fall apart at closing at the table.
Really?
Because the bank told them today at the closing that they want them to hold. One was $11,000, one was $30,000 notes. And the sellers both just got up and walked away from the table, left to
wow.
take the house. So, so we're finding more and more, sellers aren't going to pay the note.
Yeah.
And that's just the reality of it. Very, very few do. And more banks, I just heard, and I don't know how true it is, that Chase is going to require that all their sellers hold a $15,000 note. And if that's going to be the case, then you can pretty much guarantee that a lot more than 75% won't be going through.
Right. Well, that seems like a weird play on the bank's behalf because, that's really just ultimately pushing that house into foreclosure.
Yeah.
And unless the bank's main objective is to ruin these people's credits, which could be the case.
Well, I'm probably the only person in the whole country that's on the bank side on these things.
Yeah.
I have a huge problem with people who are short selling these days just because their home lost value.
Well, that's more strategic, but
right.
Just base things upon a lot of people that are losing their jobs or just taking pay cuts.
Right.
You know what I mean? Or their arm adjusted. I mean, there are a lot of those people out there.
Absolutely. I don't see the bank really having a big deal with them. I think most of those ones are probably going through. I'd say the ones we're probably having the biggest difficulty with are the ones that are owned by investors.
Right.
And that's a lot of them here.
Yeah,
we have a whole market, a huge market. 2004, 2005, people were coming through and, throwing down tons of money here to buy homes, and they rented them out. And in fact, most of them are still rented, even though they stopped paying their mortgages. And now they're like, well, we're never going to get our money back. Let's just, short sell it to the bank. And they all know that the longer it takes for them to short sell it, the more they collect money on their rent that they're not paying the bank with.
Right.
So it's a whole, to me, there's a huge moral issue there, but, who am I to tell people how to run their lives, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's transition, Mitch. I know that, speaking with Lewis, who's the general manager at HomeGain, he says, you've used his services for over 5 years now?
Yeah, I think we're right around 5 years, yep.
And, can you maybe explain to the listeners and to other agents that are listening out there kind of like, what your experience has been with HomeGain and, taking a visitor to HomeGain's site and then getting them to your site and that kind of transition from a visitor to a client?
Sure. And I'll tell you up front, having me switch to HomeGain was a gigantic thing for me because my background is pay-per-click marketing and advertising, so in internet marketing.
Okay.
So when they called me originally and said, "Hey, we can do it more efficiently than you can," I said, "Yeah, whatever. Everybody tells me that," and I hung up the phone. And then I sat down and I started thinking about it. They were offering me, 99 cents a click. I was averaging $2 a click.
Yep.
I said, "Well, don't be so damn stubborn, Mitch,
right.
and let's try it for a minute and see what happens." So I gave him $1,000 of my $10,000 a month budget at the time, and my lead flow doubled.
Wow.
On that. It was incredible. It took me 2 weeks to transfer my entire budget over to him.
Wow.
And I've been, I had about 500 keywords at the time. And I tell you, from a broker standpoint, or even an agent standpoint, the hardest part of online marketing, especially if you're into the pay-per-click as I am, you have to spend a lot of time managing your pay-per-click to do it efficiently.
Yeah.
The beauty of home, and you have 20 other realtors on there when someone clicks on Melbourne real estate from Google or Yahoo or Bing, wherever they're going from. When you're using HomeGain, it goes directly to my IDX. There's no other realtors there. My capture rate went from 8% on Google to 16% with HomeGain.
Wow.
So I doubled my lead flow at half the cost. It was a no-brainer.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah, no-brainer.
So, and you said you've pretty much been into the internet marketing for the whole time you've been in real estate, or is this just
I've been doing it? Yeah, I was way before. I was actually one of the first online dating services, if not the first one, back in 1995.
Wow.
Yeah. I saw the internet. I'm a marketing guy, so as soon as I saw the internet, I said, "This is just a gold mine for the world."
Well, yeah, that's I think that brings a lot of clarity to a lot of the listeners out there. So you definitely, so other agents that are listening, you say it's definitely a service worth looking into. Is a way to reach out to people that are actively looking for homes.
Sure. Well, here's the problem: if you're going to go use a third party to do your pay-per-click marketing for you, you're going to pay 25% of your spend. So if you have a $1,000 a month budget, you're only getting $750 worth of clicks. If you take that money and you put it to HomeGain, you're getting your full $1,000 worth. Add on to that a double the conversion rate, capture rate than Google, then it's a no-brainer.
And have you found that, since the people are coming through HomeGain, which is a site devoted to basically searching for homes, versus Google as a better basis to establish that upfront relationship with the consumer?
Sure. I believe. Well, that's the reason why I believe we have such a higher capture rate in Google. And we don't require phone numbers yet. 50% give us their phone numbers, give us good phone numbers, and our conversion rates. National average on internet leads is under 1%, and last year we were at 4.34%.
Wow.
So we're getting in, and honestly, that doesn't really tell the story. The real story is we had 507 people that we showed property to last year that had a home to sell, so they couldn't buy. So we sold 329 homes through the internet. If if the market wasn't dictating the market right now, we probably would have sold 600 homes.
Wow.
Which would have been closer to an 8 or 9% conversion rate.
So it seems more or less that it's just the market conditions that are prohibiting from being able to really blow this thing out of the water even further.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. We didn't really realize how strong our internet program was until the market crashed, and then we realized that everybody else was drowning, and we were still growing 20% every year.
Wow, that's incredible.
And that's strictly, and that was kind of how the Real Estate Success Network started and came up my education company, is everybody around the country started taking notice to my success here with the internet, and they're like, well, how do you do that? How do you do that? I'm like, being the entrepreneur that I am, I said, well, there's another business. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, I mean, I think, in general, I just think that, internet market, that's the wave of the future. I mean, people want to be educated. They don't necessarily want to be sold to all the time, and the more information they can find on their own, they're going to probably be more willing to reach out to you. Would you agree?
Sure. And the key is especially, when I first started doing the online marketing in 2002 with the real estate, it was easy because I was the only realtor on there. But now there's, every realtor's on the internet, and every realtor's trying to figure out how to do it. The beauty for someone like my company or people that follow my systems is that we understand how to convert them to customers. Where most people will get a lead, well, first of all, most people will get a lead and do absolutely nothing with it.
Right.
And if they don't have a phone number, they just throw it away. Or they'll send a quick email, hey, I got you. I saw you were on my website. If I could do anything, let me know. Thanks. and that's the end of their conversion,
Yeah.
Where we have specific systems that we developed, and we developed way back when I started in 2002, which understanding why a person comes to your website. They only come to your website for one reason, to look at listings.
Yeah.
So why would you send them all sorts of crap? Oops, probably shouldn't say that. All sorts of stuff that's not relevant to their listings.
Yeah.
So all we do is we just send them lots of listings.
Great. Well, when we come back, we're going to speak more with you, Mitch. I want to kind of nail down some of the other pitfalls that come along with short sales.
Sure.
You're listening to Real Estate Radio.